let me introduce the woman I have the privilege to be sitting down today. First of all, this woman is an author, and her and her husband are about to release a brand new book. So maybe we'll get a sneak little conversation about that today. She has been in real estate for over 30 years. Her and her husband own Solid Rock Realty. They are the owners and co-creative of Dekker team that is just rocking it in real estate. And their mission, what they love to do, is help people transform their relationships. What I mean by that is they like to see relationships that are lasting, and their commitment is to be an example of that and to support people in staying together. So please help me welcome my friend, Miss Yetta Dekker. Mrs. Yetta Dekker.
Hi, I always love to see you. It's so good.
How are you?
I am really good, and even better because I get to hang out with you and your peeps.
Hey, I see a number of your peeps on today, so I was like, they know you're here.
I did tell them. I didn't keep it a secret. I can't hang out with you online because here's the bottom line. You and I have these conversations. I was going to say all the time, and yet it's probably every time we see each other or talk on the phone, which happens from time to time. And so this is really just people hearing what we've already been saying to each other.
Absolutely. So I want to kind of lay the backdrop for this before I give you an opportunity to just say a little bit more about yourself. So Yetta, Ken and I during COVID, they were my bubble. So this is where I went to hang out for days on end, and we had these juicy conversations. A lot of them had to do with where we were going and how we were going to get there. Our dreams, our desires, our aspirations, our visions that we had for our lives, living big, bold, juicy lives, all that wonderful stuff. So when I thought of this topic and I knew I was going to be doing it by myself, I said, why would I do that? I'm going to call my girl Yetta, and we're just going to continue this conversation. So before we jump into what we're going to talk about, a little bit about setting people up for 2023, setting them up for casting a vision worthy of their life. Talk a little bit about what you want them to know about you as a backdrop for this conversation.
Oh, you didn't warn me about this. I thought we could go straight into what's important. But as you ask that question, the first thought that pops into my mind, and that's usually the right thought, like it's the most authentic thought, the one that you go, yeah, I don't want to tell people that. Right? But it's the real thought. Mm-hmm. And that is, I've made every mistake there is under the sun, I think, in relation to casting vision and in relation to honoring vision. And I used to be that girl that would, and the woman, it didn't stop when I stopped being a girl. It continued into adulthood and into my even 30s, 40s, 50s. It's not continuing into my 60s, at least not frequently. And that is beat myself up for what I didn't get done.
Yeah.
Like forget the accomplishment, but like see. So when the accomplishment happened, it was like, next, let's go. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you're like me and you're that girl that checks off the list, or the woman or the man, or you're the person that just once it's done, you forgot to pause and do the thing that was going to make the biggest difference. And we have a tendency to just get it done and then move on, or sit in it so long, because I've watched this too and experienced that, and that sit in it so long that I now lost my momentum that I had.
Woo, that's good. That's good.
Right? And so that is, that's true confessions. Like I have a coin that I keep on my desk now, and I've been keeping this for a little while. And it reminds me that of every way that I show up and everything that is going on in my life and every perspective I have, there's another side of the same coin.
Yes.
And so I tended to be a woman of either side of the coin, not like try and split the coin in the middle and do something that was kind of balanced. It was either not celebrate at all, or have a little tiny win and over celebrate and make it a bigger celebration than the win was worthy of.
Oh, that was good. That was a good, that's a perfect backdrop for us to jump into this conversation. See, that's why I asked you. I knew you'd deliver. All right. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the Influencer's Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart. Today, I'm sitting down with the beautiful Yetta Dekker. And our topic today is why Where You Finished 2022 is the launching pad for casting a vision for 2023. Now, I think it's such a great topic. And so I want to create the backdrop for everybody so everybody's sitting in the same place as we are before I drop question number one. So I want you guys to think that it's the last month of 2022. You are closing out your year and you're getting ready for 2023. Now, if you're a super achiever and you're part of our tribe, you know that you can't go into 2023 without actually having casted a vision and written 100 goals. I know 100 goals. We'll talk about that next week. And so you got to write your 100 goals and you got to set yourself up with a 90-day action plan and be totally dialed in for the first quarter so you can hit the ground running. That is our goal. So December is kind of like the time where we pull out pen and paper and we begin to journal. So I want everybody to sit in that perspective because we're going to walk you through what needs to happen through some questions that we ask ourselves. Yetta and I have had these conversations, and every time I go to her house, there's one question she asks me, and we're going to ask that today. And so this is where we're starting. So last week, if you were here with Fazia, the question we answered was, who are you required to become as you go into 2023? So you want to go back and watch that because that's step one. Now, this one is, how do you cast that vision? So the first question I got for you, Yetta, is why is it important, and here it is, to sit in gratitude and to celebrate your successes before you even start writing goals and casting a vision?
If you don't do it, you have no launch pad. You have no setup for the context of where you're going. If we, as I said a few minutes ago, you just check it off and move on, you don't have the foundation of the momentum from where you've been. So it can't take you where you're going because it's flat. It falls flat. And so the question I asked Suzanne, she's not going to ask me this, but I'll tell you what the question is. The question is, what are you going to celebrate? And what are you going to celebrate yourself for? What do you want me to acknowledge you for? And it doesn't mean we're necessarily going to have an all-out big party. What it means is we're going to acknowledge the other person, and we're going to acknowledge it in ourselves. So whether we speak it out or we write it out or we do both, which is even better, it gives us the setup for what's next. Because if we aren't going to get given more if we don't appreciate where we've been and what we've received, right? We've got appreciation, gratitude, acknowledgement. There's lots of different words for the same thing. Celebration. You find the word that resonates with you. What makes you feel happy that you succeeded? What are your successes, your accomplishments? What do you want to sit in appreciation of?
Yeah. And why this question is so important is because, as Yetta says, how many of you just keep running, right? You're just running. Yeah, check. This is the beautiful thing about learning to celebrate your successes, and not just at the end of the year, but as Yetta says, consistently and persistently. One is, when we say successes, I'm not talking just your goals. I'm talking about, what are you proud of in terms of who you're becoming, what you achieved, how you stretched, how you grew, what you overcame, all those sorts of things. What are you celebrating? The other thing then, yes, celebrate your goals, because we do that. However, there's one thing about celebrating success and really digging into it is this. All big successes are made up of small things, small steps. And many of us just glide over the steps. So you might not have achieved a goal, but how far along the journey are you because of those small incremental successes that you might be glazing over? So definitely go ahead and celebrate. Yet, talk a little bit about gratitude, because success is one thing. Gratitude is a whole other ballgame.
And I tend to use the word appreciate. Like, I can sit in the appreciation of just a simple conversation that Suzanne and I have sometimes. It's sitting in the emotion, the experience of. Whereas, I mean, I've done gratitude lists. I started attempting to do them in about 1995. I got my first gratitude book, and I would write them down, and it did nothing for me. Like, it didn't land even a little bit. It didn't land until I allowed, and it took me probably a decade before I started letting it land. And so what I would say about gratitude is, until I can experience, like, take it in my body, what are the sensations that I experience when I think about a great conversation that moved me forward or moved the other person forward, or the thing that I did when I knew I did the right thing, even though I got a really lousy result. Like, maybe I worked for nothing. Recently, Ken and I had an opportunity to support somebody. Another realtor called and said, I'm struggling with my family member, and I'm going away, and we've got to list a house, and there's all this stuff going on. Would you guys step in and just get it on the market? Well, when we met with them, we realized it was their dream home. Why do we want to sell their dream home and earn money off that? Yeah. So sitting in, and we've had lots of conversations since, and so I've got a great property coming to market, and it's all wonderful. But the bottom line is, whether there was anything in it for us or not, it was sitting in the experience of the appreciation of just being the person you're called to be. In our case, we were called to be. So I know it's a long answer, but it's got to be internalized in our being, or the gratitude in my mind falls flat. It's just words. It don't mean nada for me.
I totally get that, because I think when gratitude really began to do its work in my world was not the good stuff. And I want this to land for everyone listening. It wasn't, it's easy to sit in gratitude for, oh, you know, I got paid today, life is good, the sun came up, I'm healthy, all those things. Where gratitude began to work for me was when I began to ask myself, what am I grateful for in the messiest, most difficult situations? When I began to ask myself, what am I grateful for in the most challenging discourse between two people? What am I grateful for when I didn't get what I wanted? And that's when gratitude, I really began to understand the power of it. Because what began to happen, Yetta, was that as I looked at this messy, hard, painful situation, and I asked myself, what are you grateful for, Suzanne? I started to see giftings. I started to see blessings. I started to see opportunities. I started to learn about myself. And so for me, gratitude is so an opportunity for me to stop and shift my thinking. And that's why I think it's more important than anything. Is successes is celebrate yourself and look for them, look for the small things. Gratitude is often what allows us to shift our thinking on a dime, and shift so that we get to this place where something that was difficult, there's a blessing in it. Something that was challenging, there's a gift in it. There's an opportunity. And what I realized, until I started looking from a place of gratitude, I left so much on the table. Does that work for you?
Oh, well, the reason I'm smiling and I'm shaking my head, because you're screaming at me right now. And the reason you're screaming at me is I'm sure you recall this day, but we do gratitudes and celebrations and acknowledgments and appreciation. It's our way of living with each other now, right? And in our community, and whoever is in conversation with us knows that we're going to do that. And we were on a call, and it was a setup for the book club that you've been hosting for a long time. And so that was really good. And we have a conversation before we get on. And I had a really difficult, nasty morning with the love of my life. In that moment, I was choosing him, but not choosing him out of happy place. I was choosing him because it's the right thing to do. And then I was told to celebrate. It was my turn. And it was like, oh my goodness, I'm not a faker. I'm not a put it on and pretend like it's all good. And I was thinking, okay, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? I'm going to hurt him right now. What, he's in the other room. What am I grateful for? And I said, I'm grateful that Ken and I this morning and over the last 24 hours have discovered other ways that it doesn't work for us to do our relationship. Do you remember that? And
I do.
Ken started howling. And it was like, that was good, but it's being able to, and I was grateful for that. Like, it wasn't like I made it up. I was truly grateful. Hey, here's another way that we sometimes behave, even 43 years into our relationship, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did call Suzanne later in the day, and I said, you weren't worried for me. You didn't call me. You didn't check in on me. And she goes, you guys are going to work through the other side. You know that, right? I go, yeah. So celebrating even those things that you're in the middle messy, and finding, even if it's just saying, we found another thing that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it really sticks to what you're saying. Like, it's
absolutely. And so there might be people sitting out there, viewers saying, so what's this have to do with my vision and my goals? Right. And I want to make it plain as day, because we're really wanting to set people up as 2023 is around the corner, is that when I and you are not able to celebrate our successes, small, tiny, little ones, and sit in gratitude for all that comes our way. I mean, everything, like the whole enchilada. If we are not able to do that, you're going to get knocked out of the game. You're going to find yourself sitting on the sidelines, watching your life happen. Mm-hmm. And so what gratitude and success does is continuously shift you and put you back in the game and on the court. And so anyone who gets on the phone with me, anyone, I will, and they tell me something's going on that's not working, I'll say, first of all, that's perfect. And I celebrate you. And what are you grateful for? What's amazing about this? What's beautiful about this? Because I have trained myself to look for the blessing, the gift, the gratitude. And so I want everyone listening to train themselves to look for the blessing, the gift, the beauty in the messiest situation, because I think they're all setups for our next step. They're all setups for our brilliant spaces and places that we're supposed to occupy. They're setting us up for something special if we're choosing to embrace it and look for the gifting.
Yeah.
Okay, Yetta. I love this question. I got to tell you. How does everyone listening use failure and challenge as a catalyst for their action plan?
Ken and I have talked a lot about this, and you and I have talked a lot about this too. And Ken and I were bantering about it this morning. And I think how you use it as a catalyst, or how we use it as a catalyst, is the best way I can answer the question, right? Because each person has to find their unique way of integrating it into their life, is to not see it as a failure, to rather see it as a learning opportunity. What can I take from it that can help me move forward? So it actually is a catalyst rather than a deterrent. Learn a lesson from it. For us, we have to learn a lesson from it. If I can't learn a lesson from it, I'm probably going to repeat the experience because I can't figure out why it happened in the first place. Why did I have that failure? So using my setback or my fumble or my fall or whatever we want to call it, it really is. And John Maxwell taught us this probably 25 years ago. Fail forward. Use the setback as your set up. I mean, you can see every stumble, the stones, either as a stepping stone or a stumbling block. It really is a choice So I guess I use it by choosing that it's going to be a setup rather than a setback.
Absolutely. I think there's two things that have been key for me. One is I had to sit down and redefine failure because it's used all over the place. So it's not like we can't, I can eliminate the word. So for me, whenever I hear failure, I think of opportunity. And I go, oh, this is an opportunity to learn, grow, expand, become more. That's how I hold it. This is the interesting thing, though. I spent, and I don't know about you, but I spent many years afraid of failing. Anyone else have that? And if you do, just put it in the comment section so you can join and let me know. Don't leave me out here hanging by myself. So I spent many, many years afraid of failing. And what I realized was I did nothing because my need to get it right, my need to be perfect, my need to look good was standing in the way of all of my successes. This is the interesting thing. Why I say it's a setup for your plan is that whenever I fail, I now have access to, as you said, information, data, content, ways of being, so much stuff that was never available when I was standing still, afraid to move. So this is the interesting thing. We've gone through all of 2022. Some things went extremely well, and some things, oh Lord, they are what they are. Now, I could feel bad for myself, or I could say, let's dig into what didn't work and mine the data. What do we need to learn? What do we need to do differently? How do I need to grow? Who do I need to become? Who do I need to hire? All that stuff is available if I'm willing to do the work. Now, this is where I want everyone listening to go. And this is why we're saying these 3 questions, and there's a few more that are key for setting up your year. Without this, I'll go blindly on into 2023, either ignoring the failure and continuing on or stopped. And so it's really around using this to really build a true plan, is it not, Yetta?
It is. You have to, if you don't build a plan, I mean, I think of this all the time. If I don't have a plan, I am subject to everybody else's plan for me. And everybody's got one for me. Like there is nobody that doesn't have a plan for my time that is in my inner world, right? Even culture has a plan for me. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to be doing in this season of my life? The plan for me at 60 years old, from a cultural perspective, is I should be setting up to be retired.
Absolutely.
What? No. That's not Ken's and my plan. And so we had to really spend some time even answering that question, because if we don't have a clear vision of what retirement looks like for us, we're going to be subject to somebody else's.
Ooh. Oh, somebody put that in the comment section, right? If you don't have a clear vision, yeah, absolutely.
You're a sitting duck to what everybody else wants for you. And so in particular to retirement, that's such a poignant conversation right now, because almost like that's the conversation when you're in your 50s and 60s that is swinging around you in every context. Are you coming to this retirement party, that retirement party? And there's nothing wrong with retirement. I think if it's right for you, it's right for you. And it's not that I think there's anything wrong with it. But for us, it wasn't for us. And so we had to get clear, when is our retirement? And we have the answer now. Now I have an answer for everybody. So we sat down on a beach, just like Suzanne does. I love my beach. I love my water. And we prayed about it. And we said, like, when are we going to retire? We have to have an answer, because almost 3.5 decades in the industry, people say all the time, so Yetta, are you still doing real estate? How much longer will you be in the industry? And they're really asking because they want to know how long we're still going to be there for them. And so we got the answer. We're going to retire, and we're going to expire in 2059 when we are 97. We're going to do it together. We'll be 97 years old, 2059's down the road, and that's when we're going to retire. And so now that's our vision. So now that paints the picture. How do I have to show up? What can I eat? What motion do I have to do? What water do I have to drink? What conversations do I have to have? What people have to be in my life? So the vision sets me up, not be swayed by popular opinion and not be swayed by popular activity or even social constructs.
Absolutely. So when we bring it back and you look at all these pieces, what's really key around this is two things I'm hearing. One is that I love what you said. If you and I don't have a vision and a plan, someone will build it for us. And you'll find yourself somewhere you don't want to be, living a life maybe you don't want. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I've been down that road. That is not fun. Woke up one day and said, how did I get here? And that's when I became intentional about vision and planning and goal setting. This is the other really interesting thing around having, when we talk about how to use failure and challenge as a catalyst for your action plan, also as a catalyst for your vision. Because one of the things I began to realize was until I took the time to examine what didn't go well, to look for the blessings, sit in gratitude, celebrate the successes, what unconsciously began to happen was that I would write my vision, but I'd write it from a place of no belief. How many of you have done that? So I'm going through the exercise. However, I don't believe this is possible because last year I failed. Last year it was so challenging. Last year it was so difficult that I'm writing the vision and it's an exercise, but I'm not all in. I don't have belief in what I'm writing because I haven't cleared what I've been through. And so part of what we're talking about is when we talk about dig in and look for the blessings, sit in gratitude, look for the challenges, look for the information inside that challenge that's going to set you up. Who am I required to become? Ask yourself those questions. What you're actually doing is you're clearing yourself out of the challenging stuff and finding the information that can have you now go right from this new place of belief.
Like if your belief doesn't align, you can't stay in that action consistently. I mean, you may be able to act outside of your belief, like one time, do something you don't actually believe in, but you can't stay there. You can't consistently move towards something you don't believe in. I've tried. It doesn't work. Like it's not doable.
It isn't. And the other part is the slightest thing that happens that reminds you of where you've been will knock you out. Right. And so what we're actually giving everyone are practices. So when we say gratitude, what am I grateful for? Is you're going to end the year with it. But this is an all the time kind of thing. Every day, this challenge came up. What am I grateful for? I had a win. What am I grateful for? Successes. What are the successes that happened even inside this thing that didn't go right? What are the lessons? What are the gifts? Even inside of this challenge. And when you continuously do that, you'll find the information that will pull you forward, even if it's 4 steps.
Even if it's a half a step, like if it's a tiny step, a big step, it doesn't really matter. What are the paradigms as you're sharing this? I hope I can throw this in here because it keeps popping into my head. I'm distracted by it. And if I'm distracted by it, it probably means I'm supposed to put it out there. And it's the idea that I used to think I was here, failure was back there, and success was up there. And what we eventually learned, and it's through gratitude, through assessment, through analyzing what didn't work and seeing it that I'm here, failure's here, and success and accomplishments over there. And I can't get to the success and the accomplishment without the learning and the failures, if we want to use that word, along the way. So failure's not back there. It's not between me and success. It is me, failure, success. And just that simple paradigm shift
Yeah.
changed everything, because I no longer felt like a failure.
Oh,
Because
I love
I
that.
sat in I am, and I know I am statements are the most powerful things we can say to ourselves, but I would sit when failure was back there and success was up there. I would think I am a failure.
And so I love this analogy. And I remember when we both read that book and we were in that banter. And so this is kind of where, when failure's back there, whenever you fail, you feel like you've been pulled back there, right? And you feel like you've lost ground. Imagine that you didn't. If failure is up here and you have to go through it to get to success, that failure is your setup for gaining ground. And it's just a different shift. For me, what as I've gone on the journey, and the book that we read really reinforced that, was that it's not only that failure's in front of me, but I need to do it. I need to fail. I need to be challenged. And I began to realize that if I am up to big, beautiful, bold things in my life, then failure and challenge is part of the ingredients. So I can't avoid them. I just need to take them on big and bold. I just need to go, like, yeah, let's get going. And big challenge today. All right, what am I supposed to learn? Who am I supposed to become? How's it going to shift me? And then it becomes this game, Yetta, that we get to play, because we know that we're playing the game of expansion. And who's going to expand in perfection?
It's an impossibility.
Really?
Like, it isn't even perfectionism is not even a thing to be attained, like to be sought after, in my opinion, or attained, because it can't be. I can't learn anything much when I do it with perfection, but I can sure learn something when I don't nail it. I can take the lessons out of it. And I agree with everything you're saying, Suzanne. Well, you know I do. My goodness. We use different language to say it, and we say essentially the same essence. And I'm going to encourage people that if you're not in a community of people that kind of see life similarly to the way you do, that, if your friends believe that you should be pulled by popular opinion or act as though, they may not say they believe that, but actions leave cues and clues, right? Like, they're all over the place. So finding a community where you can actually be sitting in appreciation and gratitude, where the lessons learned aren't things that you want to hide from your friends. You don't want to pretend like they didn't happen, but you can sit in them, and they don't use them against you. They use them for you to propel you to the next stage. That's magic.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely.
Magic.
And I think it's not just magic; it's everything. Because I know for myself, environment is way stronger than my own willpower. And so I have learned that I consistently and persistently have to put myself in environments that pull for my success, that hold me up, and also challenge me and let me not fool myself into thinking things that are not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Yetta, how are you mining the data that is available to you from 2022 to create a beautiful 2023?
Okay, so my favorite, and it's so easy, so simple, since I found this tiny little formula. And I don't even know where I found it. I think I made it up, but who knows, because there's nothing new under the sun. But my version is for me. And that is, I look at everything I've done this year, all the lists, the 100 items, my 90-day sheets, my monthly sheets, my Rock My Life process. So, I mean, there's a process. And I look at my process and I ask myself, what did I do that I must stop? The cost was too high. did not bring me toward my intention, didn't bring me toward my purpose. It set me back, or it set me back so much so that the wins from it were not satisfactory to allow it to stay in my life.
So what must you do that you must stop? If someone can put that in the comments, that is awesome.
Stop.
Don't do again.
Don't do again. And then I asked that first, because my next one is, what must I start? Like, what must I start? But I know that my life probably doesn't have capacity to start 12 things and stop one. So I must look at, there has to be something on the stop list. I can't say everything that's stopped. There's nothing to stop. I just need to start these 12 things. And not going to work so good unless the things you're going to start aren't so significant. If they're going to be of anything of value, if they're not just busy starts, they're like really things that you're meant to be doing, then there better be something you're stopping to start something.
Got it.
Right? And then my third question is, what gets to stay? Like, what, as I'm assessing and analyzing based on the questions Suzanne asked, like, what value did it bring? Is it moving me forward? Is it taking me back? Like, who is it allowing me to be who I'm required to be, or is it taking me out of who I'm required to be? All those questions are really, once you internalize them, it's almost like they happen on automation. Because it's who you're consistently and persistently being, as you would say. And so what gets to stay? What must not be removed, except there's 3 possible solutions to the stay. What must stay exactly as it is? It equals what I'm doing now, stays the same. It's an equal science. Equal, nothing shifts. What gets to stay, but in a lesser degree, would be certain people I hang out with. They get to stay, but just in lesser quantity, because we're not heading in the same direction. So I love them, and here's the value they bring, and I bring them, but it needs to be a less amount. So it's not a stop, stay, less than, and then what gets to stay, and I want to increase.
Oh, that's good.
More time, more energy, more. And so it's 3 words that's equal symbol, a plus symbol, and a minus symbol. And I do that consistently. It's not just a setup for 2023. It's a setup for my week. Right? It's a setup for my day. And that little teeny tool, for me, has been life-changing.
And I love it because it really asks some great questions that we often don't ask ourselves. So what are you going to stop? What are you going to start? I already have answers coming to me.
Of course you do.
And what stays, and it's in different degrees. That's a great starting place as we begin, because and I want to keep bringing this back for everybody so they really get the connection between this. Because what we're doing is we're putting your mind in this place for vision writing. Because writing a vision is just sitting down and writing a story to yourself about what next year is going to look like. However, what mindset you sit down to write it in makes all the difference in the world, and will make the difference in terms of whether you're setting yourself up for success or disappointment, or if you believe what you're putting down on paper. So this is why we're doing these things, and we're asking these questions. So as you were talking, I was like, oh, those are good. So I'm gonna add another equation to it.
Of course you are.
Because hey, let's give them some stuff. And this complements so what you just said, because it's different. However, it complements. So of course, I'm going to bring everybody back to the success formula. And if you're in the mastermind, you'll totally get this. So the success formula are 4 areas, and they're multiplied. So the first one, I'm going to, given what stays, what stops, and what you start, the next question you want to ask yourself is what skills am I required to learn?
Yep.
Right? Because we are entrepreneurs and our skills are continuously expanding as the world changes, moves forward, evolves at warp speed. So, what skills am I required to learn so that whatever stays, stops, or starts, I can powerfully take on? So, what skills? Second one is how must I adjust my character, which is what habits must I start, learn, or stop doing? Because our habits either move us forward or they're moving us backwards. So you got stay, stop, start, what skills, and now you got to look at what habits are going to really propel what stays and what I'm starting. So skills, habit. Next one, my favorite, is attitude. How must I adjust my attitude? This is a game changer because this is emotional mastery. And this is how do I manage my energy as I move into 2023? So, how did you manage your energy last year? Energy means what? How were you when things disappointed you? How were you when you failed? How were you when you were challenged? Did you go into your self-imposed pity party? Did you have a little temper tantrum? Did you go and sit on the sidelines for a few months? Or did you course correct, adjust, and keep moving? How did you manage your energy? That's attitude. And finally, what relationships, as Yetta touched on, must I start or stop to help me move forward in 2023? Because a major part of success are our relationships.
Yep.
Who we surround ourselves by and with is often an indicator of where we're going. Now, I want to talk about relationships for a little bit, and I'm going to do a sidebar because Yetta, I got you here. I know one of the things I learned. So let me just say how Yetta and I met. A friend said that I needed to meet this beautiful woman by the name of Yetta Dekker. I had no clue who she was. I don't know. Every time I saw her, she told me I needed to meet Yetta Dekker. Finally, the Dekkers were having an event. She told me I needed to go 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I was like, who does that? However, okay. The minute I was in the room, I saw this beautiful couple standing at the front of the room, and I saw Miss Yetta, and I said, she's right. There's something about her. I need to meet her. This is what I want, the point I want you to make. Relationships that will move your life forward are intentional. You don't wait to bang into the person. You don't wait to, it kind of happens. So when I left that event the next day, I made sure and reached out to Yetta, and because I was intentional, I was going to cultivate a relationship with this person because there was something, I didn't know what, but I knew there was something. 2 years later, that something is everything. Right? So who are you going to intentionally reach out to and develop a relationship that will impact your life and your business? What do you want to add to that, huh?
Well, what I want to add to that, because I always have something to add. You and I do this thing, and that is we talked about it yesterday when Ken and I did our Life's Inside Track episode. Actually, we were talking exactly about this point, and we talked about accidental friends, accidental relationships. They were just, they happened because you were in the same sports club, or you had a particular interest, or you're whatever it was, they were in the same industry. And so you didn't with intention go after to get them. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're habitual friends. Like they happen because of the habits that we have happening in our life. And every so often one of those, it's like, wow, that worked. Mm-hmm. Most of the time though, when I ask the question to myself, who do I need in my life? Like the missing persons report. What?
Oh, I love it.
Right? And then I have to, second half of the missing persons report for me is that I have to turn it on myself. If I'm being that person, because I'm never going to find that person if I'm not being some version of that same person. right? They're not going to be attracted to me if I want this person in my life, but I am entirely someone else. Who am I required to be to meet that missing person or resonate with that missing person? So that it's very layered here. And then asking other people in your life, once you have the missing persons report, who do you know that I need to know?
Yeah.
Like, who is it? And as they know you, you don't have to necessarily share every detail on your missing persons report, but as you know who they are, it's easy to verbalize it in a few words and people sense who you are. And that's why this woman, Agnes, actually could see us. And I hadn't seen her for probably a year or so at that point. I had only met her like 3 times, but obviously something resonated with her that we had to meet. And she couldn't have been more accurate. So even being willing to listen to what people are saying in your midst, like who's trying to introduce you to who, don't ignore that stuff.
It's gold.
It's gold. Like, it's so easy to go, oh, but if they care about you, and they may well be willing to invest the energy to introduce you to somebody that is your person. Business partner, you don't know. You don't know. It's so incredible.
And so I know for myself, I do this every year. I make a list of 10 people. Some, and as you said, some of the people who stay, they're always there. Some people come off the list, and there's always 3 new people that go on the list that I've never met. My intention that year is to meet these people because they are going to move my life forward. Oftentimes the people who stay are the people that I met last year and I'm choosing to deepen a relationship with. Because I know that deepening a relationship will enhance my life, their life, possibly open doors, create beautiful collaborations, all these different things. However, it didn't happen by accident. It's intentional. And so as you set yourself up, before you start writing your vision, these are some of the things, some questions that you want to ask yourself. And what we'll do is we'll put in the comment section after the call some other questions that I believe will totally help you blow the doors off this process before you sit down and write your vision. Next week, we will be talking about vision casting and writing a vision and writing your 100 goals. We'll tell you exactly how we do that. Our commitment is to set you up so that you go into December doing the work that will put your 2023 on blast.